Hey, welcome back to Enchantment's Kitchen. I hope you guys are doing well. I apologize for that long hiatus here on YouTube, but I'm feeling refreshed and excited to make new content and recipes for you guys. So for today, I'm going to be making these Chinese sponge cake or cupcakes as you might call it. And the first thing you want to do, like any cake recipe, you want to line your pan, that way it doesn't stick to the pan, of course. So I'm just taking a piece of parchment paper that I cut into a square and just cut that into quarters, making sure to leave the center intact, and then just trying my best to fit that into my cupcake pan here. To be honest, this wasn't the best idea just because it did tend to leak a little bit, just very slightly. So if you want to, you can certainly just use your standard cupcake liner. Just keep in mind that your cupcakes will be a little bit smaller. So now moving on to the actual batter of this recipe, you want to take 4 large eggs at room temperature preferably, that way the egg whites can beat up to their fullest volume, just making sure to leave those egg yolks aside for later. And then as far as for the egg whites, you want to beat them on about medium speed, either using a stand mixer or hand mixer like what I'm using here. And you want to beat them up till they're nice and frothy before you start adding your granulated white sugar, just 1 tablespoon at a time until it's fully incorporated. And then once it's fully incorporated, you want to continue beating and also increase the speed of your mixer to high until you reach a nice thick, glossy, stiff peak. So you can see there that meringue is looking absolutely glorious and beautiful, just stunning, and just holding that peak so nicely. So once the meringue is all done, you want to take the 4 large egg yolks that we reserved from earlier, add them straight into a large bowl, and I'm not even going to change the beaters on my hand mixer here because honestly it doesn't really matter, and just go ahead and beat the egg yolks so they're nice and smooth. And for whatever reason, I guess I wasn't thinking, just complete like brain fart, but I added the flour before I added the other ingredients that I need to add before I add the flour. So word to the wise, definitely add the flour last and add the other ingredients such as the milk and the oil and the extract if you choose to use it first before you add the flour. So the problem with this here, I add the flour too early and I start mixing it and working the gluten in the flour, and the more you work that gluten in the flour, the tougher your cake will end up being. So here I am realizing, oh darn, I forgot the oil. So here I am just adding a little bit of that flavorless oil. You can use a canola or a grapeseed or even a light olive oil here. Basically just to keep the cake nice and moist and tender. And then again, I realized I forgot yet another ingredient. So I added some milk, which should also be at room temperature, along with some extract. I use almond extract, or you can use vanilla or even lemon extract, or you could just omit it altogether. So at this point, I was honestly worried. I was like, oh shoot, I think I just overworked my gluten in the flour, so it's gonna be really tough and like hard biscuit instead of a cupcake. But I don't know, I guess the baking gods were on my side, so it ended up just fine. So all that worry and stress for nothing. But here I am just adding my meringue gradually in about three or two batches into my egg yolk and flour mixture. And it's best to use actually a rubber spatula like what I'm using here, rather than your stand mixer or your hand mixer, just so that way you can control how much you're beating the batter at this point, just because you don't want to deflate any of it. You want to maintain that light and airy texture that the meringue provides. So once it just kind of falls back down into a ribbon and most of it's incorporated, most of that meringue is incorporated, you're ready to fill your pan up. So here I am, I just have my little cupcake liner, and I'm just going to take a scoop. This is about half cup scoop, I believe, and I'm going to use 2 of those scoops, so a total of about 1 cup of batter per cupcake if you're using a larger like parchment paper liner like I am. And again, if you're using just your standard American style cupcake liner, definitely use less batter, because otherwise it's just going to end up overflowing and ruining the bottom of your oven. But yeah, go ahead and just fill that guy up as much as you can. Traditionally, these cupcakes aren't frosted with anything. There's no icing, there's no nothing on top. It's just enjoyed as is, which is delicious in my opinion. So that's why they tend to be a little bit higher, and they almost look like a souffle when you pull them out of the oven, because honestly the recipe itself is very similar to what a souffle would be. You can also use a little like skewer of some sort to see if they're done. Just make sure that the skewer comes out clean, and I like to immediately remove them from the pan, that way they don't have a tendency to overbake. And for some reason I decided to cool them upside down, just hoping that it would prevent or kind of minimize the shrinkage and from it collapsing as it's cooling. But you know, just like a souffle, it does have a tendency to kind of shrink down as it's cooling. Just keep that in mind if you do notice that. So, and if you do choose so, you can certainly add some whipped cream or some sort of frosting on top. But honestly, I just love that tender, soft crumb as you see there. It's absolutely beautiful. It's like eating a cloud if clouds were nice and soft and fluffy and delicious. So it's very much like that cotton cake. I think that's very trendy or something. But anyways, it's delicious. It's a Cantonese or Hong Kong classic. And yeah, definitely give it a try. Let me know in the comments below if you do give it a try and what you think. And don't forget to hit the subscribe, like button, notification bell, all that good stuff. And definitely let me know what you want to see. You know, I need some inspiration now that I'm kind of revamping the channel. So thank you so much for watching. I'll see you back here next time. Bye.